the headlines. You know, but I'm going to try to stay on this storm. It's not going to be a normal weathercast for me tonight just because of how the 90-mile-per-hour winds are showing up. Okay. And it looks like...
If you want to go regroup, give it to me for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, let's...
Maybe leave the radar up.
Let's do that, yeah. So we're just figuring this out real time for our production people in the back and for those watching. Mike is saying he wanted to leave it up. Yeah, and it looks like we have some info on power outages that are starting to come into us given this thunderstorm. I'm going to leave the radar up here, and I'm going to have it zoomed in on Nueces County because, Mike, this is coming and approaching the Corpus Christi area, and we're going to be on the air here, you know, as this comes in. So I know the clocks say 10 o'clock. This is our normal broadcast time. So I'm going to go regroup, try to get my bearings on this storm a little bit more. But 90-mile-per-hour winds, severe thunderstorm warning in effect till 10:30. And if you're in the path of this, you're in that yellow polygon, take shelter as the wind speeds are, again, to put it into a different perspective, high-end Category 1 hurricane force winds moving in to the western side of Corpus Christi. Mike, have we got it? You can take it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Alan, of course, has been on the air on social media. You've seen him on Facebook perhaps tonight. So for the last few hours, he's been tracking these storms and answering your questions. And of course, whenever something like this happens and you come on the air for a newscast, we're going to stay with this right here. You heard, if you were listening here earlier over the last half hour or so, you heard the term life-threatening several times. That's the kind of storm we're talking about. We're not kidding when Alan says that this is in like a Category 1 hurricane type of wind that we're seeing across the area. So whenever something like this happens, as you would expect us to do, we kind of push all other news to the side, even though there have been significant news events and items happening today in our world, and we'd like to cover some of those. But for something like this that's happening real time, that is threatening property and has the potential to threaten lives, we're going to stay with this and continue to talk about this. Now, Alan said that he is right now going to regroup and take a look at some of this. What you're seeing is live, real time from the map and from what's happening through the radar as those storms move here. Now, I have asked our producer to give me an idea about any kind of outages, power outages that we're seeing there, and she's feeding that more than... Now, Kristen, tell me again, where was that? In Alice. Okay, so more than 4,000 customers in Alice, we know for sure, are without power right now. We would expect that as you see where this storm is moving through. And then in Driscoll, we've got about 1,000 customers, it looks like, are without power there. And so, again, part and parcel of the wind that has moved through that area. So the 4,000 in Alice, 1,000 in Driscoll. We would expect to see more of that with this kind of wind coming through. I mean, you recall what we've talked about and what you've experienced likely as even hurricanes of a smaller scale have moved through the area. You see the downed power lines, you see the tree branches, the fences, the property that's damaged. That's the kind of wind we're talking about here that's moving through. Those are the kinds of things that we have to be looking for and we have to be mindful of. And that's likely what's causing a lot of these power outages that we're seeing and that we will continue to see, as Alan mentioned a moment ago, as this starts to move into the Corpus Christi area.
Yeah, the wind core that we're seeing right now, you know, it doesn't look quite as large. Earlier, I marked it at about 10 miles. It's still showing up 91 miles per hour just to the west of Tierra Grande. I'm gonna do another, you know, just to see. So it's shrunk by half or so. Maybe 5-10 minutes ago, this wind core was up 10 miles across. So it's getting smaller, but it's also approaching, you know, more populated areas. Right now, it's in a fairly rural section of Nueces County. I'm going to clear that arrow off. Has nothing to do with direction. Just was getting the size of the wind field. It's small. You know, you look at it the way it's shown on the map view that we typically show, it's small, but the problem here is that it's also mighty. 90-mile-per-hour winds, as I hear thunder now starting to creep up on us here at the studio. And again, Mike, you hit the nail on the head when you re-quoted the National Weather Service. They're calling this thunderstorm extremely dangerous situation with 90-mile-per-hour observed winds. We are seeing that on our velocity product on the radar. And to quote the National Weather Service on the impacts, it does say, quote, "You are in a life-threatening situation," end quote, if you are in the path of this thunderstorm. So it is moving to the east. I'm just moving the radar back and forth so you can see the movement. It is moving to the east, and to my eye, at the tail end of this, it looks like it's wanting to bend to the north a little bit. But Petronilla, Tierra Grande, those locations right now are experiencing those high-end 90-mile-per-hour winds. And given this movement, I'm going to storm track this a little bit. So you see where we are on the map. That's Nueces County. This line going around in circles, that's the radar, and that is at the Corpus Christi International Airport. Just going to make sure that we've got this movement. So this is moving fairly erratically with respect to forward motion. It's been warned for 40-mile-per-hour movement, 30-mile-per-hour movement. The latest warning is for 50-mile-per-hour movement, and that is east at 50. So what I'm going to do is put a storm track on this given 50-mile-per-hour movement and see where that puts us in about 30 minutes time, so we can just get as much lead time out as possible as this storm, again, it's still west of Corpus Christi, but it's moving east at 50 miles per hour. So I'm going to just put a line here and draw it out. And that's making the assumption that it stays on that easterly trek. I mentioned earlier that it looked like it was wanting to bend to the northeast, but I'm going with what the National Weather Service is saying on that movement. And if it were to move east at 50 miles per hour, it would put it at the London ISD at 10:14 in 7 minutes. Take shelter if you're in the path of this storm. The Cabanis Field area, a few minutes after that, 10:17, 10:18. Christus Pond South, 10:21. The Corpus Christi Medical Center in the Bay Area, 10:24. And then TAMU-CC, if it does continue east at this pace, a little bit before 10:26. Mike, you've got additional information as it's coming into us.
I think we just want to,
if we can, try to reset here for folks who may have turned on the television expecting to see their normal 10 o'clock news. Obviously, you have figured out by now that we are tracking some things that we need to just kind of stay on top of here. Alan has made a fantastic point about saying that, you know, you can kind of look at where this storm wants to go, but again, these things can have a mind of their own. This can take a turn in any direction that it wants to, and we're going to stay on top of that. But it is so important right now for safety that folks anywhere near this, anywhere in that area, folks here in Corpus Christi, as this storm approaches, are in conditions where they can stay safe, where they are in shelter. This is not the kind of thing you want to go out and chase or stand out in your backyard and look at. This is, as we have said here, a life-threatening kind of thing with a high wind. We have been tracking this throughout the evening. Suddenly we start to see these 90-mile-per-hour wind readings here, and that puts this in a whole different category. We mentioned earlier that there were power outages behind this storm. In Alice, about 4,000 customers. Driscoll, at least 1,000 there. We expect there are going to be more. We hope that that does not affect you, but if it does, and there's a way that you can continue to follow 3 News, maybe on our weather app, maybe on 3 News Plus, some way to try to get information so that you can stay abreast of what's happening with this thing, we would certainly advise that. This is not the kind of thing that you want to take lightly, and I'm hoping that evidence of that is the fact that we are now, instead of reporting some of the other big news events of the day, continuing to watch this storm. It is impressive just looking at the radar, and you see the size and the magnitude, the area that this is covering, and where this is going to end up. And we're going to stay right here with you through this entire thing. Alan continues to track this.
Yeah, there's another, there's 2 polygons there. The one that's bigger, that's also not a slouch of a storm. It's got observed winds of 70 miles per hour. That one is about to expire in 5 minutes. And the part of the storm, I mean, this is a big complex of storms. Falfurrias getting rain. I'm not coming down here, places like Fremont, Rivera, because the threat is so high with this leading edge of the storm that is getting really close now to the Corpus Christi International Airport. And that bulging right in there, that is the section of the storm that what you're seeing on radar. The way the radar looks is because winds are blowing in so hard, it is pushing that section of the storm forward. Again, it's got 90 mile per hour observed winds. This is not a radar estimate. The winds in this storm have been observed at 90 miles per hour, and I am still right now, 10:11 p.m., still seeing 85 mile per hour winds showing up on the radar. I just got a new scan in, still showing over 60 miles per hour, but it's this reverse C section of the storm that has my attention. And we've just got a new warning, Mike, in severe thunderstorm warning that now includes all of Corpus Christi. That is until 11 o'clock tonight. And I'm going to have to get and see what this warning is showing in terms of what the Weather Service is indicating. And the latest update, and I'm sure now your phones are going off because you're just getting the warning. That's what we're talking about right now. Movement is east at 30 miles per hour. Mike, they are still saying 90 mile per hour wind gusts, penny-sized hail. That's not severe level. That's under 1 inch diameter, but half of an inch to maybe upwards of an inch on the hail. And Mike, they're still calling this, again, this is from the Weather Service. I don't use these words lightly. They are calling it a life-threatening situation. The reason for that is because of the debris that 90 mile per hour winds could pick up. If you happen to be outside in the path of something like this and something like that were to hit you, that's where the danger is. So in Corpus Christi, you should be in sheltered areas right now, given we are in a severe thunderstorm warning, and that warning is for 90 mile per hour winds as this storm moves in. Mike?
And folks, as you mentioned, their phones going off. If you're reading that emergency alert, pay close attention when it talks about the flying debris, how it may be deadly to those who are caught without shelter. Folks, they don't use that word lightly. Another thing is, if you are in shelter, stay away from the windows. You don't know what's going to be flying around, especially as this storm moves into some more populated areas, moves into neighborhoods, things of that nature. There's so much there that, without warning, people did not tie down, or perhaps there's, patio furniture, things on the lawn. This kind of wind, 90 mile per hour wind, can easily pick up things and throw them around. And so stay away from windows. If you can, maybe go to the center of the house, maybe to a room without windows, just to be safe and to be prepared. Don't take this lightly is what we're telling you. We were looking at some of the power outages early. We want to add to the list folks in Jim Wells County. We're getting reports that there are about 6,000 customers in Jim Wells County now that are without power. So again, as we predicted and as we talked about, as we see this storm with this kind of wind moving through, you can just about guarantee there are going to be the power outages. Power lines will be affected, transformers, tree branches that have not been cut back are going to have a say and have a play in how this thing works out. And so some of you may end up without power as well. here at our KIII studio right off of SPID, not far from La Palmera Mall between Staples and Everhart. You know, we can hear the thunder out there. So what you're seeing on the radar, we're hearing also in real time as this storm begins to move across the area and moves into more populated areas. We cannot again stress enough how important it is for you to stay safe any way that you can during this storm.
The storm now is starting to get close to the radar. You know, it's very close to the radar. And because of that, we're not going to be able to sample, unfortunately, where the strong winds are showing up. I mean, the storm is really close to the Corpus Christi International Airport. From the radar, it's about 4 miles away. It's moving east. Again, and that movement is east at 30 miles per hour. So it's passing, the strongest winds are passing just south of the airport. They are now getting close to the southern end of Crosstown as you get south of the Saratoga area. And that's where the strongest winds are with this storm. And I mentioned that it's close to the radar because we're not going to be able to see it as good on the, see how the radar, it's like, that's called the cone of silence. You can't really see anything because the radar isn't looking up, it's looking out. So the wind, the destructive wind, if it is still there, again, this is still warned, the worst of the wind, and I don't know why we keep losing that right there, but the radar doesn't look as impressive with the scans that are coming in. And I don't know if that is because it's so close to the radar that we're not seeing it and sampling it enough. This was the core of wind that we were very concerned with. It's approaching the London area right now. I'm going to sample it. It's not going to be as high, 40 miles per hour. And if that's the case, then this, you know, this is weakened significantly, if that is to be the case, over the last 5 minutes that we've been on the air. But by the looks of the way the radar is shaped, I'm just looking at the shape of the returns coming in, without being able to see the velocity clearly, you're going to have winds that are rushing into this storm and bulging out right over where the Crosstown Expressway meets Saratoga. That's where the leading edge of the strongest winds are right now. And I know it's not widespread, but because this storm has had a history of producing 90 mile per hour winds, even though they're not showing up right now. I don't know if it's because it's close to the radar, so we're not getting great sample on it. But because it's got that 90 mile per hour wind producing history, and it's, according to the Weather Service, that jargon of life-threatening, if you are in the path, which all of Corpus Christi is, you need to be getting into shelter. If you're at the Buck Days parade, or not parade, the carnival, anything outside, you want to be sheltering where you're at right now, or getting to a sturdy shelter, getting into an interior room. If those 90 mile per hour winds do move through, it could easily blow a window out if there's debris blowing around. So I just want to make sure that people are aware that this thing is moving in to the western side of Corpus Christi as we're on the air here, 10:18. It's warned through 11 o'clock. Movement is roughly 30 miles per hour to the east. And again, it is including all of Corpus Christi. Mike, any more updates on any I'm going to try to look at Facebook real quick to see if I can get any reports on damage or additional stuff on power outages. I've got tons of messages I need to circle through, but okay, roots ripped off in Alice, no power. This is someone that's sending me a message, Joey Buenteo. He's saying it looked like a tornado blew through. More reports of hail. Yep.
We're also getting reports even in Nueces County now, at least 2,000 customers without power. We expect that that's going to jump and increase. We mentioned earlier in Jim Wells County, 6,000 outages there. So if the warning of this being a deadly storm was not enough, you should at least prepare for the fact that if it comes through the area where you are, there is a great possibility that you are going to end up without power. If you still have power right now, this would be a great time to figure out what you're going to do if that goes away and if it happens to stay away for an extended period of time. Hopefully you've already thought that through and you have a plan in place. But again, these are the kinds of things we're seeing as this storm moves through with what, as Alan has been telling us all evening here, and especially since we started tracking this one on the air, a storm that has produced 90-mile-per-hour winds, bringing that with it. For those who may have just tuned in not long ago and were not here for the beginning of this, when you talk about 90-mile-an-hour winds, yes, if that sounds familiar, you are talking about hurricane force winds. That's the kind of seriousness with which you should take this kind of threat. As you see the radar, as we're hearing here in our studio, we're hearing the thunder overhead, another indication that this thing is moving into the area. Now, if on the off chance it happens to be weakening, and that's one of the things that Alan is looking at here, then we're going to take that as a blessing and we're going to be glad for that. But it does not mean that you should not take precautions and use care until this thing passes through. Alan, what are you looking at over there?
Yeah, you mentioned the possibility of it weakening. We were talking about that a few minutes ago as it approached the airport location, the radar location. You know, it gets harder to see the storm when it passes very close to radar sites. But what I'm seeing now is that this bowed out section, you know, the strongest winds are in Corpus Christi with this storm. They are moving in right now to Corpus Christi. It's this reverse C section of the storms that are moving in that will have the highest winds associated with this complex of thunderstorms. Now, that's the radar imagery. That's what we're looking at in terms of rain. The wind is looking far less impressive in terms of its strength than it did through Alice. That's Alice. That's when it really started to ramp up. Alice, 70-mile-per-hour winds or so. That was 9:13. As it moved into Nueces County, this is when I jumped on air. That's when it was producing the 90-mile-per-hour winds. You see how bright that core of winds looks on the radar. This is the area I'm referencing. This was at 9:40. As we continue to move through, that's the Driscoll area getting hit at 9:50 or so, then into Petronilla around 10. Then it approaches the airport and things get a lot less organized. So it's looking like, Mike, just how the radar is showing me right now, that as it moved into Corpus Christi, the deadly tagged winds that the Weather Service was citing, I don't see anything like that showing up on the velocity product right now. Not even close, which is a blessing that is happening as it approaches the Corpus Christi area. We're still going to get the thunderstorm, but on the velocity product, I'm not seeing anywhere near 90-mile-per-hour winds. We'll sample it. I'll sample it right now for everyone to see, just real time. 28. Let's go to Robstown, 36. Come over into southern Nueces County, 20. I'm not seeing anything of the level that it was showing in western Nueces County when we started to cut in for this thunderstorm. Another update just came out. A new severe warning now is in effect for southeastern Nueces County. That's the Flower Bluff area. You're now in another severe thunderstorm warning. That now includes all of the island. When I say the island, I'm talking about like the canals, the Whitecaps of the world, that neighborhood, that community. The island is now in a new severe thunderstorm warning, and there's going to be gusty winds associated with this. I'm going to just, again, reiterate what the National Weather Service is saying with respect to the wind speeds on this thunderstorm now. And it's jiving, Mike, with what we were talking about. The winds do not look as strong as they were maybe 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, but still 60-mile-per-hour winds within this thunderstorm. It's radar indicated, not observed now, and it's moving to the east. It is moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. So it is moving in the direction of, Flower Bluff, the island. It's going to move over TAMU-CC here shortly, and it does not look like the winds are as strong as this storm is now moving through the heart, really, of the Corpus Christi area. It's approaching the downtown area, and to be honest, downtown, you see downtown right in there, maybe not even getting any rain at this point yet, some light stuff, but the heart of Corpus Christi, the Bay Area, SPID, moving into Flower Bluff, all of those locations are in line. And then we've got this new severe thunderstorm warning that'll be in effect for another 35 minutes. And it is for 60-mile-per-hour winds. I'm going to check the hail product here, and it does not look impressive with respect to hail. This gray area, the shaded area, the south side of Corpus Christi, the deep south side of Corpus Christi, there may be some quarter to half-inch sized hail, which is below severe limits. And again, I'm going to just look again on the wind speeds, because that was the big concern, and it really falls apart right over the airport. And as we look at the broader line now of winds that are moving through the city, well, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to make a straight line there. I'm going to erase that real quick. That leading edge, that's where the 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts are going to be possible, and that is all moving like so. That's all moving, from west to east toward our area beaches and barrier islands. I'm going to sample the winds again just so we can all see exactly the types of winds that are embedded within this. 44, 29, north side of Baffin Bay, 31. So Mike, again, I would feel comfortable getting off of it right now. If there are stories that you want to get to while we have this, we've got a few more minutes. I know Chris has some sports. Maybe we can try to get that in right now, but we can also stay on this as well, as we've got, multiple severe thunderstorms ongoing right now in the Corpus Christi area.
Let's go ahead and do this. I think we probably need to stay with this, just given the nature of this. We were talking about the fact that we're very thankful that it appears as though this has started to dissipate as it is moved toward more populated areas, perhaps in Corpus Christi. The destructive winds, yes.
It's still a dangerous storm, but the life-threatening tag that has been on this, it doesn't look like we're at 90 miles per hour. It looks like more of a 60-mile-per-hour scenario.
And we want to just mention here that while we are grateful for that, that does not lessen the impact that it had earlier when you first came on the air and we first started tracking this. And we're looking at going to probably see reports of different kinds of property damage, hopefully nothing more severe than that. I mean, you can deal with the property damage and you can pick up those pieces. That's probably what we're going to see on the other side of this particular storm in regard to the 90-mile-per-hour winds that this thing was bringing across the area, places like Driscoll, Petronila. We've had reports of perhaps some damage in Alice with customers without power there. The 6,000 in Jim Wells County, at least 2,000, perhaps more already in Nueces County. What we're seeing right now here at our studio along SPID, right between Staples and Everhart, is more of the rain, the thunder. In fact, we can hear it outside right now. And so we're going to continue to watch this for just a bit longer and make sure that we can safely say that folks are out of danger. This is a live look outside of our studio from our tower cam right now. It's a little bit difficult perhaps to see, but we can hear the rain out there. It does not appear that the wind is anything like other folks have experienced. We are are, though, getting the lightning. That in itself is dangerous. It's a reminder that you don't need to be out in this. You can probably find a place to get to. If you're indoors, go ahead and stay there a little bit longer and let this thing pass through, because that's one of the things that we want to do, is to make sure that everyone knows it is important that you stay safe. Earlier, we were seeing the kind of wind where the National Weather Service was warning that debris could be flying. That means stay away from windows, stay in parts of the house perhaps that don't have windows, maybe at the center of your house. You have been through this before if you've lived here for any length of time, in knowing how to prepare for hurricanes. What we're seeing right now in Corpus Christi, and this is a live look, I believe, closer to downtown, where we're seeing the lightning, perhaps a little bit of the rain hitting down there. It makes you think about the folks who are at the rodeo tonight, the folks who we're enjoying.
Can we see if we can pan over to the American Bank Center just to see what's going on?
Yeah, if we have the ability to do that. I know everybody's got a lot of hands
full
back there,
yeah.
But if we could do that at some point and just kind of take a look over there, you can really hear it coming down where we are. But a lot of folks out, we imagine, enjoying Buck Days tonight. That means a lot of folks on the road as this thing is passing through, and so they're not listening to us probably right now as we're on the air. But again, if you have to be out, then this is one of those things where you have to use caution, you have to remain alert, you have to watch out for yourself and watch out for the other people around you. This is not something that you want to play with. The thing that caused us to come on the air early, it looks like a lot of that in terms of the wind is not what it was, but that does not mean that there's not still a threat with the storms that we're seeing right now. And Alan, have you picked anything else up here just in the last few moments?
Yeah, we do have a new warning. It does include the downtown area. I mentioned that because we mentioned the Buck Days crowd, perhaps coming out of the rodeo. You know, you might be coming out to some thunderstorms. It doesn't look like the wind is as strong. The hail threat doesn't look bad. At this point, there may be some smaller variety, pea-sized hail that is showing up in some of this activity. And you know, you see how these polygons are morphing around a little bit. That's the Weather Service just really tailoring these warnings to exactly where these hazards are located. And the Weather Service, I'm going to focus on the storm that's over downtown and moving into the downtown area. The current verbiage from the Weather Service, they're still saying that 70-mile-per-hour winds are embedded within this thunderstorm. They're saying it's radar indicated, and I had mentioned as this storm got close to the radar site at the Corpus Christi International Airport, some of the radar returns, they start to get muddied. You can't see as well when you're super close range and you're trying to sample something like a severe thunderstorm. So what I'm gonna do is just look and see what the wind speeds are doing at various locations around the area. And these are the current wind gusts. And they're not that impressive in terms of 90 miles per hour. These are current wind gusts. We've got the downtown, the LexCam is showing that. I'm gonna pull that back up on our camera network. Here's the LexCam. And you see the cars out there, Mike, and the lightning strikes, and you know, they probably maybe want to stay in the American Bank Center for a few more minutes.
Yeah, if you're down there at Buck Days, obviously I don't know that you're listening to us, but you know, maybe you know folks who are down there. You can send them a message on their phone. Don't bother to get out in this. The lightning itself is scary enough when we see that, and we've been seeing a lot of that downtown. That's not even an indication of what's going on the south side of town, which is where we are, and we're hearing the rain, seeing the lightning outside of our studio, and it really seems to be coming down here. Again, this is something that is going to move through parts of Corpus Christi, and we plan to stay with it until it does, because our goal here is to make sure everyone is informed and everyone is safe about what's happening. It began with wind speeds that were 90 miles per hour. That wind speed has lowered as the storm has moved through. We're very thankful for that, but it did impact a whole bunch of folks on the other side of that when it first picked up.
And Mike, those 90-mile-per-hour winds, those were fairly isolated, but it was enough for me to say, this is too much. We need to warn people about this. That's why we jumped on 20 minutes before our broadcast started. And those winds really were from Alice through Driscoll and into the Petronilla area before they really started to weaken substantially so, which I consider that a blessing, because 90-mile-an-hour winds through the heart of Corpus Christi during buck days as you're getting out of a rodeo is not something that would have been very safe whatsoever. I'm going to pull the radar back up just to regroup on where the storms are, the current warnings that are active in the area, and what these warnings currently mean. Both of them are in effect, the severe thunderstorm warnings, until 11 o'clock. That's another 25 minutes or so. And these thunderstorms are...
NetCredit is here to say yes, even when other lenders won't. Apply online in minutes and get funds deposited the next business day or sooner. NetCredit. Credit to the people.